You know, for decades at MIT, there was this one lecture that was so legendary, students and even faculty would pack the auditorium every single year just to hear it. And it wasn't about AI or some complex engineering problem, it was about how to speak. Today, we're going to distill that masterclass from the late great Professor Patrick Winston into a set of really powerful, actionable rules. So let's dive into his timeless advice.
So, Winston kicks things off with a claim that's, well, it's pretty bold. I mean, look at the order here. It's not your brilliant ideas that come first. Nope, it's your ability to speak. He basically argued that the best idea in the world is completely worthless if you can't get it out of your head and into someone else's, effectively. That one thought, that's the foundation for everything else we're going to talk about.
So, how do you actually become a great speaker? Well, Winston had this really simple formula, and I want you to look closely at this slide, especially the size of the words. See how tiny the word talent is? He did that on purpose. His whole point was that, yeah, sure, some people might be born with a bit of a gift, but what really, truly matters is your knowledge, what you know, and then just practice, practice, practice. It's a super empowering idea, right? Greatness isn't born, it's built.
All right, let's get to maybe the most critical moment of any talk, those first 30 seconds. I mean, how do you hook your audience and make them actually want to listen? Winston had a very specific and very powerful strategy for this.
Okay, so what do most of us do? We try to open with a joke, right? To kind of break the ice. Well, Winston argued this is a huge mistake. At the very beginning, your audience is just settling in, they're getting used to your voice, they're just not ready for a punchline. So the joke almost always falls flat. Instead, he said you need to do something much, much better. Start with an empowerment promise. So what is an empowerment promise? It's really simple. You're giving your audience a clear reason why they should invest their time in you. You're not just saying, here's what I'm going to talk about. You're saying, here's what's in it for you. A promise like, by the time we're done here, you will know the 3 biggest mistakes every presenter makes and exactly how to fix them. Now that immediately makes your talk feel valuable.
Okay, so you've nailed the opening. Awesome. But now we're in the middle, the body of your talk. And this is where, according to Winston, things can go really, really wrong. This is where most people commit what he called slide crimes, little mistakes that totally sabotage their own message.
And I want you to be honest with yourself here. Think about the last presentation you put together. Did you fall into any of these traps? Let's take a look at a prime offender.
Oh man, look at this. This slide is a complete disaster, and it perfectly shows the problem. Here's the thing, our brains only have one language processor. So when you throw up a slide that's crammed with tiny words and distracting stuff, you force the audience to read. And if they're reading, they literally cannot listen to you. You've started a battle in their brain, and trust me, you're going to lose.
But here's the good news. Fixing it is actually super easy. First, just get rid of any distracting background junk. Clean and simple. Second, and this is the most important one, you have to be absolutely ruthless with your words. Just kill at least 80% of them. And finally, get rid of all that clutter, like the extra bullet points. The goal here is just radical simplicity.
And boom, look at the difference. It's clean, it's simple, it's impactful. Winston had this fantastic metaphor for this. He said, your talk, the words you're actually speaking, that's the steak. Your slides, they're just the salt and pepper. They're there to add a little flavor, but they should never, ever be the main course.
And of course, there are other crimes to avoid. You've got the crazy laser pointer dance. You know what I'm talking about, where it's zipping all over the screen. Or a too heavy talk with slides that are so dense there's no visual breathing room. Or the tennis match, where the audience's heads are just whipping back and forth between you on one side and the screen on the other. The theme here, they're all just distractions that break your connection.
Okay, let's move on to the grand finale. This is your last chance to make an impact, the last thing they're going to remember. How you finished is every bit as important as how you start. You can't just fizzle out.
So on the left, you see maybe the worst possible way to end a talk. This slide is a total waste of valuable screen space. It says nothing. But on the right, that's Winston's powerful alternative. He said, don't call it conclusions because frankly, nobody cares about your conclusions. Call it contributions. It's such a small change, but it's a huge shift in power.
And here's the genius part. You leave this slide up during the entire Q&A. So while people are thinking of questions and listening to answers, what are they staring at the whole time? Your main points, your accomplishments. It's like free advertising for your core message, just burning it into their memory. It's a brilliant strategic move.
All right, now for what might be Winston's most surprising, most controversial piece of advice. He argued you should never end your talk with a simple thank you. I know, it sounds crazy, right? But think about it. He said it suggests the audience just endured your talk out of politeness, like they had somewhere else they wanted to be. It just subtly undermines your authority right at the very end.
So if you can't say thank you, what are you supposed to do? Well, you just need a clear signal that the talk is over. That joke that didn't work at the beginning, it works perfectly at the end. Or you can salute the audience, thank them for their incredible questions, or say how much you enjoyed the discussion. The point is to end with confidence, with poise, not with a whimper.
You know, when you boil it all down, Winston didn't just see presenting as a skill, he saw it as a responsibility. And he left his students with this incredibly powerful metaphor. Your ideas, they're like your children, and you would never send your kids out into the world in rags. So the question he really leaves all of us with is, how will you dress your most important ideas to make sure they're seen, heard, and valued?